A General Dictionary of the English Language. By Samuel Johnson. Master of Arts. First published in 1755, in 2 volumes. Letter A. From ABECEDARIAN to ABHORRING. ABECEDARIAN. Noun substantive. From the names of A, B, C, the 3 first letters of the alphabet. He that teaches, or learns the alphabet, or first rudiments of literature. This word is used by Wood, in his Athenaeoxonienses. Where mentioning Farnaby the critic, he relates that, in some part of his life, he was reduced to follow the trade of an abecedarian by his misfortunes. Abecedary. Adjective. See, abecedarian. 1. Belonging to the alphabet. 2. Inscribed with the alphabet. This is pretended from the sympathy of 2 needles, touched with the lodestone, and placed in the center of 2 abecedary circles, or rings of letters. Described round about them, one friend, keeping one, and another the other, and agreeing upon an hour, wherein they will communicate. Sir Thomas Browne's Vulgar Errors, Book 2, Chapter 2. Abed. Adverb. From A, for at. C, A, and bed. In bed. It was a shame for them, to mar their complexions. Yeah, and conditions too, with long lying abed. And that, when she was of their age, she trode. She would have made a handkerchief by that time of day. Sir Philip Sidney, Book 2. She has not been abed, but in her chapel. All night, devoutly watched, and bribed the saints with prayers for her deliverance. John Dryden, Spanish friar. Aberrance. Noun substantive. From abero, Latin. To wander, from the right way. A deviation, from the right way. An error. A mistake. A false opinion. Could a man be composed to such an advantage of constitution that it should not at all adulterate the images of his mind? Yet, this second nature would alter the crasis of his understanding, and render it as obnoxious to aberrances as now. Joseph Glanville's Sepsis Scientifica, Chapter 16. Aberrancy. The same with aberrance. They do not only swarm with errors, but vices depending thereon. Thus, they commonly affect no man any farther than he deserts his reason, or complies with their aberrancies. Sir Thomas Browne's Vulgar Errors, Book 1, Chapter 3. Aberrant. Adjective. From aberrans, Latin. Deviating, wandering from the right, or known way. Dictionary. Aberration. Noun substantive. From aberratio, Latin. The act of deviating from the common track. And, if it be a mistake, it is only so. There is no heresy in such an harmless aberration. At the worst, with the ingenuous, the probability of it will render it a lapse of easy pardon. Joseph Glanville's Sepsis Scientifica, Chapter 11. Aberring. Participle. From the verb abere, of abero, Latin. Wandering, going astray. Though there were a fatality in this year, yet divers were, and others might be, out in their account, aberring several ways from the true and just compute, and calling that one year, which perhaps might be another. Sir Thomas Browne's Vulgar Errors, Book 4, Chapter 12. Of the verb abere, I have found no example. To aberuncate. Verb active. Averunco, Latin. To pull up by the roots. To extirpate utterly. Dictionary. To abet. Verb active. From betten, Saxon. Signifying to enkindle or animate. To push forward another. To support him in his designs by connivance. Encouragement or help. It is generally taken, at least by modern writers, in an ill sense. As may be seen in abettor. To abet signifieth, in our common law, as much as to encourage, or set on. John Cowell. Then shall I soon, quoth he, return again. Abet that virgins, cause disconsolate. And shortly back, return unto this place. To walk this way, in pilgrim's poor estate. Fairy Queen, Book 1. A widow, who by solemn vows contracted to me, for my spouse, combined with him, to break her word, and has abetted all. Hudibras, Part 3, Canto 3. Men lay so great weight upon their being of right opinions, and their eagerness of abetting them, that they account that the unum necessarium decay of piety in the reign of King Charles I. Though that prince was married to a daughter of France, and was personally beloved and esteemed in the French court, it is well known that they abetted both parties in the Civil War, and always furnished supplies to the weaker side, lest there should be an end put to these fatal divisions. Joseph Addison, Freeholder, number 28. Abetment. Noun substantive. The act of abetting. Dictionary. Abettor. Or abettor. Noun substantive. He that abets. The supporter, or encourager of another. You shall be still plain, Torresmond with me. The abettor, partner, if you like the name. The husband of a tyrant, but no king. Till you deserve that title by your justice. John Dryden's Spanish Friar. Whilst this sin of calumny has two such potent abettors, we are not to wonder at its growth. As long as men are malicious and designing, they will be traducing. Government of the tongue. These, and the like considerations, though they may have no influence on the headstrong unruly multitude, ought to sink into the minds of those who are their abettors, and who, if they escape the punishment here due to them, must very well know that these several mischiefs will be one day laid to their charge. Joseph Addison, Freeholder, number 50. Abeyance. Noun substantive. From the French aboyer, alatraire, to bark at. This word, in Littleton, caput discontinuance, is thus used. The right of fee simple, leath in abeyance. When it is all only, in the remembrance, intendment, and consideration of the law. The frank tenement, of the glebe, of the parsonage, is in no man, during the time that the parsonage is void, but is in abeyance. John Cowell. Abgregation. Noun substantive. Abgregatio, Latin. A separation from the flock. Dictionary. To abhor. Verb active. Abhorrio, Latin. To hate with acrimony. To detest to extremity, to loathe. Whilst I was big in clamour, came there a man, who having seen me, in my worser state, shunned my abhorred society. William Shakespeare's King Lear. To whom, thus Michael, justly thou abhorrest that son, who on the quiet state of men such trouble brought, affecting to subdue rational liberty. John Milton, Paradise Lost, Book 12, line 79. The selfsame thing they will abhor one way, and long another for. Hudibras, Part 1, Canto 1. A Church of England man abhors the humour of the age, in delighting to fling scandals upon the clergy in general, which, besides the disgrace to the Reformation, and to religion itself, cast an ignominy upon the kingdom that it doth not deserve. Jonathan Swift, on the sentiments of a Church of England man. Abhorrence. Noun substantive. From abhor. 1. The act of abhorring, detestation. It draws upon him, the just and universal hatred and abhorrence of all men here. And finally, subjects him to the wrath of God and eternal damnation hereafter. Robert South's Sermon 2. The disposition to abhor hatred. He knew well that, even a just and necessary offense does, by giving men acquaintance with war, take off somewhat from the abhorrence of it, and insensibly dispose them to farther hostilities. Decay of piety. Abhorrency. Noun substantive. The same with abhorrence. The first tendency to any injustice that appears must be suppressed with a show of wonder and abhorrency in the parents and governors. John Locke on Education, section 110. Abhorrent. Adjective. From abhor. 1. Struck with abhorrence. For if the worlds in worlds enclosed would on his senses burst, he would abhorrent turn. James Thomson's Summer, line 310. 2. Contrary to, foreign, inconsistent with. It is used with the particles from or to, but more properly with from. This I conceive to be an hypothesis well worthy a rational belief. And yet, is it so abhorrent from the vulgar that they would as soon believe Anaxagoras that snow is black as him that should affirm it is not white? And if any should, in effect assert that the fire is not formally hot, it would be thought that the heat of his brain had fitted him for Anticyra, and that his head were so to madness. Joseph Glanville's Sepsis Scientifica, chapter 12. Why then, these foreign thoughts of state employments, abhorrent to your function and your breeding? Poor droning, truants of unpracticed cells, bred in the fellowship of beardless boys. What wonder is it if you know not men? John Dryden's Don Sebastian. Abhorrer. Noun substantive. From abhor. The person that abhors. A hater, detester. The representatives of the lower clergy were railed at for disputing the power of the bishops by the known abhorrers of episcopacy, and abused for doing nothing in the convocations by these very men who wanted to bind up their hands. Jonathan Swift, Examiner, number 21. Abhorring. The object of abhorrence. This seems not to be the proper use of the participial noun. And they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men that have transgressed against me. For their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched. And they shall be an abhorring unto all flesh. Holy Bible. Isaiah, chapter 66, verse 44. Next page begins with to abide. Original source text is in the public domain. This audio recording, including AI-assisted narration, restoration, and editorial structure is copyrighted 2026 by Muse of Folios. All rights reserved. ABECEDARIAN. 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 ABECEDARY. 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 Abed. 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 Aberrance. 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 Aberrancy. 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 Aberrant. 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 Aberration. 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 Aberring. 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 To aberuncate. To aberuncate. To aberuncate. To abet. To abet. To abet. Abetment. 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 A better or a better. A better or a better. A better or a better. Abeyance. abeyance, abeyance, aggregation, 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 to abhor, to abhor, to abhor, abhorrence, 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 abhorrency, 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 abhorrent, 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 abhorror, 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 abhorring, abhorring, abhorring,